Welcome back to another episode of Real Results with Coach Joe. I'm your host, Coach Joe Villegas. This is the program where we help you to improve your health, increase your wealth, and live a more fulfilling life. And I am super excited today. I have a very special guest, Jenna Richardson. Jenna, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Welcome to the show.
Excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I know, I'm pumped. So for all of you watching, we're doing a two-piece segment. And so make sure you're going to see this episode, another one coming out soon as well. Tune into both because we got a lot in store for you today.
Yeah.
So first things first, I want to get right into it. So Jenna, you are the CEO and co-founder of Princeton Integrative Health. I've had the pleasure of coming into this facility and just seeing how beyond its time it actually is in terms of general healthcare. So let's talk about that a little bit. Can we just dive right into the modern state of healthcare right now and how things are going? And then we can compare and contrast and talk about all the great things you're doing at PIH.
Great. Sounds good.
Let's do it.
All right.
So, traditional healthcare, go in a doctor's office, you sit in a little room, you wait around. You sit in another room with less clothes on, you wait around. It's not too fun, you don't get a lot of information, and you guys are doing it different. So talk to me a little bit about Princeton Integrative Health, what you got going on there.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
Yeah, so Princeton Integrative Health, the way I describe us is we're a full service multimodality integrative health center. So what does integrative health mean? We operate at the intersection of conventional medicine and what we now know as functional medicine, which is really driving at the root cause of disease and dysfunction. So it's just a much different medical model, and ultimately the goal, my personal goal and the goal of the practice, is to shift the paradigm from sick care, which is what we know as conventional health care, totally needed in certain circumstances, right? But it doesn't do a great job of addressing chronic health challenges.
Right.
So shifting from sick care to one of true health care, and then ultimately empowering people around well care and self-care.
Yes.
So it's all about empowerment, education, engagement, and truly co-creating health with our patients.
So it's so different than the traditional model, which is unfortunate, but it's great that you're doing this nowadays and bringing that to the public, which is amazing. So when we talk about you're doing this sort of push toward well care, right? If you break a bone, you got to go to the hospital, ER immediately. That's different. But let's take a look at being more proactive about your health. So what are some things that you do with folks, when they first come into the practice? What are they exposed to get them kind of integrated, if you will, into this new paradigm?
Yeah, so the first differentiator I would say is we spend about 60 to 90 minutes with people.
Wow.
So as you mentioned, I think the average healthcare visit nowadays in the United States is maybe 7 minutes actually face to face with your practitioner.
Right,
so that's a big differentiator. I think what's been missing in the healthcare system, and this is by no means derogatory toward the medical doctors and practitioners, that the challenge is really the system.
Yes.
They just don't have the time to give the quality of care that they desire to.
For sure.
So that's much different. I think they come in, they feel seen, heard, and understood immediately. They go through a process of truly understanding the value of the root cause, driver. So what's going on that's actually creating what we say dis-ease or dysfunction, dis-ease in the body, because the body desires to be well. Right. We have this understanding that, it's our innate desire to be well. It's just oftentimes we are inundated with a whole bunch of noise. So I often talk about removing the noise in the process. So the experience is different, I think, from day one. We work on a therapeutic approach, which incorporates nutrition and lifestyle and stress management and mitigation. And, we have a nutrition consultant on staff and a health coach on staff. And it's really just about creating fulfillment in life. So, it's not just about the absence of disease. It's actually about what's going on in your life that's creating health, happiness, and harmony.
For sure.
And how do we improve that?
That's amazing. So it's funny that you mentioned that. So, my background started in coaching CrossFit, and we talked a lot about there's this continuum of going from sick to well to optimal. And most folks sort of ignore that second half of the continuum of going from well to optimal. Yeah. And it sounds like that's really what your focus is.
It's interesting because I think when we opened our doors, we weren't quite sure where we were going to fall in that spectrum. And very early in the process, which is actually how we kind of fell down this rabbit hole of functional medicine, we were finding people were going through what I call the revolving door of healthcare and just weren't getting the answers they were seeking. So they were being prescribed a medication, then going to another doctor, getting prescribed another medication. They had all these ailments going on. So we kind of originally started to unravel some of this stuff and again, driving at the root of what that challenge was. As we've grown and evolved, what we're now seeing, and especially I think coming out of the chaos of the last few years, is people have actually recognized the value of taking control of their health.
Thankfully.
So it's not just the folks who haven't gotten the answers they're seeking, who are struggling with chronic health challenges. It is, to your point, people who are like, wait a minute, I can make choices. And I have control of this, and I'm ready to invest in this. So how do I now go from maybe somewhere on this end of the spectrum to your point, moving more toward that optimal health and well-being?
Yeah, and I think it's so critical to get that message out. Like most folks are just used to, oh, I don't feel good, I go to the doctor. Now I'm sort of back to normal, or they're normal, and then they just wait till something wrong happens again. You know, it's like that's not really what we want to do. Let's get ahead of it forever if we can, can help it, and never get sick again. Like for me, I choose to just not get sick. It's just not on my agenda, so I'm not going to do it. It's not for me.
Well, mindset is huge.
Exactly,
so
exactly. It's the baseline, right? So you mentioned your clinic didn't start out as a functional medicine clinic. So early days, like what was the focus?
Yeah, well, so it always has been a functional medicine clinic, but I haven't always been in the realm. So maybe I can talk a little bit about that. So my background's actually in international business and management consulting. But I come from a medical family. My dad's a medical doctor. My mom is a nurse. I always say was because she's not practicing, but she actually is a nurse. And I went to Cornell University pre-med, and I realized really quickly that I couldn't stand the sight of blood or the smell of formaldehyde, and I got a D- in chemistry. So I was like, all right, this is probably not my path.
Switch gears a little bit,
But now what? So ended up in the business world, and kind of the coincidental situation was that in management consulting, you're looking at the root cause of challenges within large organizations. So oftentimes like improving efficiency, effectiveness, productivity, those types of things. And it wasn't until I became pregnant with my son Carter, he'll be 10, that I started to realize personally that motherhood was going to change my life extrinsically, but like how much it would change me intrinsically. So I went on this soul searching journey of like, wait a minute, what am I doing? What are my next steps? What's my legacy going to be? Where should I be in life? You know, this kind of deep soul searching initiative, and realized that I wasn't personally fulfilled, wasn't living like my best life, wasn't optimally health and well. And so when Carter was born, he had some health challenges, and we went through the revolving door of healthcare. And the final straw for me was when a reputable doctor prescribed a medication that could have caused respiratory failure for him. He was about 6 months old. So I know you're a new dad, so you can relate to what that was like.
It's a little different these days, for sure.
Exactly. And so, all of a sudden I have my like management consulting hat on going, wait a minute, why are we not trying to find the root cause?
It seems so simple,
That was really kind of like my foray into finding functional medicine, and we refer in our practice now to foundational medicine, which is like, rather than a top-down approach of like, what's broken, let's fix it, let's now repour the foundation, build the resilience, build the strength, and all those things that truly it takes to live well over, a lifetime.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure by working on that foundation first, all those things at the top that may be going wrong tend to work themselves out.
Correct.
Right? So
correct. Or they just don't go wrong.
Right, in the first place. Yeah, let's not even have to deal with that.
Right.
So you mentioned like your approach, or the approach to the clinic is very holistic in nature. So let's talk about that a little more. So I know nutrition's a big piece of that. Obviously some like movement and physical modalities.
Absolutely.
What else are people exposed to there?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have a health coach on staff. So when you come in, one of the first sessions is sitting down and actually looking at kind of like a wheel of life, if you've ever taken a look at that, to figure out like where are you in certain categories. Because we experience, I always say disease and dysfunction kind of boils down to three things. We have deficiency in our life, we have toxicity in our life, and we have trauma. And so we try to address those kind of three pillars through this process. So looking at the areas, opportunity for improvement, where can we improve, where are we doing well? And then, like I say, we don't do the work, we're just there as the guides. It's working with our patients and clients to truly co-create what does that path look like forward.
That's fantastic.
So in addition to nutrition and lifestyle and stress management and mitigation and mindfulness and all of those kind of key components, we have some really cool tech as well, like a hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
I saw some of this. Unbelievable. It was Captain America was put in, right? Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
legit.
and it's pretty cool if you do like, some of the research for quite some time. There are FDA indications for hyperbarics, which you can go to a hospital and be treated for like wound care and things like that. But there actually, I think there's like 16 FDA approved indications, but what we've learned through research is there's like 150 utilizations of this specific piece of equipment, and people like LeBron James and like major athletes actually have them in their homes for performance recovery and healing and general well-being. So hyperbarics, we do IV nutrient therapy, ozone, UBI therapy through IV as well as insufflation. We've just gotten some super cool laser therapy that we're going to be implementing.
Sounds
which
intense.
is so exciting.
What kind of stuff? What kind of work do you do with that, with the laser?
So we have 2 lasers. One is specifically for like pain, healing, cellular regeneration, actually gut health and healing can be utilized. It's got different wavelengths and frequencies of light, including violet light, that actually helps with healing the gut, which in turn heals the immune system. We have one called a Zerona, which actually has been it's FDA approved for weight loss, and actually I don't even know the correct, but removing resistant fat from the body. So, and there have been studies by both Harvard and Mayo Clinic, I believe, that have said it's as effective as bariatric surgery. But you come in for like a 20-minute session, lay on a table in a relaxing environment, and put these lasers on the body, and all of a sudden you walk out and you've lost like half inch off your body in like 20 minutes. So
that's crazy.
It's super cool.
That is crazy. It sounds like science fiction.
It does.
It really does. And here it is. It's down the street from us. You're there every day.
Yeah.
Like, people can access this pretty readily.
And it's cool technology, but I think the really cool thing is like it's just empowering your body to do what it wants to do, right? And to like be optimally well.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I love that. Like, obviously all these modalities are like super cool, and they sound intense, but it's like amazing at the same time. But to me, it's always that holistic approach, and I love the saying of, when you improve everything, everything improves.
Absolutely.
So you sleep a little better, you're going to work out a little harder, you might have the motivation to eat a little better, all these things start to improve. And I think, for folks who are watching, Jenna mentioned this wheel of life, and I love that concept. And you can really kind of apply it to any areas of your life. But can you just real quick go through, like, off the top of your head, pop quiz, the list of what's on your wheel?
Absolutely. We look at relationships, we look at career, whether it's marriage, relationships with your children. We look at, your social relationships, your community, like how well connected are you? Are you drinking water? Are you eating healthfully? Are you moving your body? I think oftentimes, especially with the movement piece, and this is your background more than mine, but we think we have to show up in the CrossFit gym and pick things up and put them down.
Beast mode.
Like,
exactly,
and like beast mode. And the reality of it is, it's really just about being physically active and doing the things you love, like joyful movement. So find something you love and just move your body.
Just do it.
Can that be that easy?
I know, right?
And I think the simplicity piece is so key too in this process. Like, it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be challenging. So movement obviously is important. Sleep, you mentioned, super important. How are you coping with managing stress? I think often we externally manage stress well. I got it all together, but I always say you can't fool your physiology.
I love that. I'm going to steal that, by the way. I'm taking that for sure. That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So a lot of components, it's multidimensional. So, and I've seen people who are physically unwell, and their hurdle is actually that they're in a toxic relationship or they hate their job. Like, you also can't heal in an environment that's made you sick. So some of these things are really important. It's not just about the physical health and well-being. It's all the other components as well.
For sure. I know. I love that. And for folks watching, like, this wheel of life concept, I think is so great. I've seen it elsewhere before. I know like Zig Ziglar is a big component of that, Tony Robbins, the whole deal. So for everyone watching, if you can imagine these areas of your life, we talked about movement or career or mission, whatever you have going on, like a big pizza pie, right? And you want to, let's say 0 to 10 from the middle going out. If you were to color in each section to what number you thought it was, maybe my career is a 7, or physical movement is an 8 or whatever. When you look at that all colored in, it may not look like a smooth wheel. So the ride's going to be a little bumpy. The idea is you want to expand that and get it nice and smooth, and that's exactly what you're doing with the clients there. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about how you're going about empowering these folks to make these changes in their lives. So we'll get to that after a quick message from our sponsors.
I love that we both got an awesome network and saved money doing it.
I know, $25. I love that it's guaranteed for 3 years.
Hey, we're sitting on a sign here.
Switch and get Welcome Unlimited for $25 a line, guaranteed for 3 years. Verizon.
Have you heard? Join me, Heather Darling, weekly for a different spin on politics, business, law, and other key issues you will not want to miss right here on RVN TV.
You see, son, with a little elbow grease, you can do just about anything.
Thanks, Dad.
That's right, Robert. And it's never too early to learn you could save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
That's right, Jamie. But it's not just about savings. It's about the friends we make along the way.
You said it, Flo. And don't forget to floss before you brush. Your gums will thank you.
That's right, Dr. Gary.
Jamie?
Sorry, I had another thought, so I got back in line.
What was it?
I can't remember.
My dream day with Offset starts like...
Cardi, baby, get in. I surprised you with a place all to ourselves.
Thank you, baby.
You look gorgeous tonight, baby. We share our favorite McDonald's order.
And we start with a cheers. Let's eat. The Cardi B.
An Offset meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hey.
I love that we both got an awesome network and saved money doing it.
I know, $25.
Welcome back to Real Results. With me, I've got CEO and co-founder of Princeton Integrative Health, Jenna Richardson. Jenna, we just had a great conversation about sort of the state of healthcare, sort of where you're going with Princeton Integrative Health, and I want to kind of bring it back into the beginnings a little bit and sort of the cornerstone of this practice, which is your dad. He is the medical doctor that's holding down the ship. So can we talk about him a little bit and
Sure.
how he got into this and came to be?
Yeah, so I had shared, my origin story and how I came to functional medicine.
Yeah.
But I went back to my parents, who, as I mentioned, were in the medical profession. My dad was in the ER for 25 years, and then
gosh, wow.
general practice for another 10-ish, and started sharing all the stuff that I was learning about, like finding the root cause and how nutrition and lifestyle and all these things really play into health.
Right.
And they're super open-minded, so they were like, oh, this sounds cool. And my dad was, I don't know, in his early 60s at the time, so
Right.
probably counting down the days to retirement, just like, oh, I'll check it out. So he went back to the Institute for Functional Medicine, which is like probably the preeminent functional medicine learning container.
Yeah, right.
And he did the first week-long course, and he came out of that course and he said, and I get goosebumps every time I tell the story, but he said, I finally feel like after practicing medicine for over 30 years, I actually have tools to help people get well and not just keep them sick.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so powerful and eye-opening to like the state of things.
Yes.
That's wild.
Yeah. So he was hooked. From that on, he was hooked, and I said, I think there's something in this. With my entrepreneurial hat and business background, I think we could make a go of this. Let's go out and change the paradigm, right? Shift the paradigm and help a whole bunch of people. And we've been in business now. We opened our doors in 2021, January. So it's been a decent run so far, and I think probably impacted hundreds, if not thousands, of lives.
Amazing.
And it's the patient and client stories and outcomes that keep us going. So yeah.
100%.
Yeah. When you look at the state of healthcare, I think in the United States, anyone who has any insight into that in terms of like efficiency and equity and health outcomes, I think we rank dead last of like developed countries, unfortunately, even though we spend the most. And so it's just really interesting to see how a shift, a minor shift, like just, focusing on the right things, doing the right things, showing up for people, and allowing physicians to practice in a way that helps them as well as helps their patients.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I feel like that approach too, for someone like your dad, keeps them in that profession.
Oh my goodness.
Someone
like
who's
I
so
said,
well trained.
Yeah.
Like you don't want him retiring early because he's sick of it or burnt out. Like he's got this almost a new lease on life, so to speak.
Honestly, we can't pull him away from it. It's become an issue. So my mom also works in the office. So we're like truly a family practice.
I love that.
And on the weekends or whatever, he's like, what can I learn? What can I study? We have to like pull him off of his computer because he's just so, and I mean, and again, I think he was 62. I think he's just turned 68, and he was literally counting the days
Yeah.
to retirement, and now he's like just got back from another conference on
No
hyperbaric
stopping him
oxygen
now.
therapy.
Yeah.
Like, is always, you know, what's next, what's next,
That's
what's
amazing.
next. So it's cool. It's really cool to see him reinvigorated, like he
Yeah.
found his passion and purpose.
That's really cool.
Never too late.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt. And I think sometimes too, it's kind of like a side thought is, like when you see these sort of newer methods, like at least from my experience, like people I talk to will say, oh, like I don't really know, like is that proven? Is that whatever? But like at your practice, you've got a medical doctor with decades of experience, your mom who's a nurse with
We have a nurse
decades of
practitioner,
experience. Like this stuff works.
Right.
There's no doubt. And so all that mastery behind these newer modalities to make, you know, no pun intended, real results, you know, for your patients, the folks you work with is incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the patient experience a little bit because I know it's very different than the norm, thankfully, at the clinic. And you really take this approach to empower folks, to really take back their health and their life. So can we talk about that experience a little bit, what
Sure.
that looks like?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So like someone comes in.
Yep.
Talk me through it.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, 60 to 90-minute initial consultation.
Yep.
From there, we will do some conventional lab testing. But the thing we know about conventional labs is that they're based on an unhealthy population. So even though you're normal, and I can't tell you how many people come in and they're like, I went to my conventional doc and he says everything's normal on my lab work.
It's the worst. Yeah.
But I feel horrible.
Yeah.
So we do, you know, we might run some incremental conventional stuff. We'll do functional testing. So again, as I mentioned, like driving at the root cause. So we're trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, what is creating this set of symptoms in your body that's causing disease? Like what are the obstacles, if you will, that need to be overcome in order to coach your body back to health and well-being.
Right.
So some of that is, you know, we might look at like Lyme testing. We have something called a total tox burden, all the things that we're exposed to, no matter how clean of a life we try to live, whether it's air, water, food, skincare products, whatever, we can't get away from it. So there's a bunch of things that we kind of look for as we're peeling back the onion, if you will. But I would say that the most impactful process is that we have a program which we call Empowered Health.
Right.
So it's a membership-based program where, you know, we have kind of it's a case fee up front where we engage with people on a very significant level to figure out like what's going on, and then we put together this therapeutic plan.
Right.
To go from where we currently are to where we need to be, and we do that in a way that's truly creating a partnership. So we say, you know, not a pill, but a partnership and a prescription for lifelong health.
You have all the cool sayings.
Yeah,
I want to take all these.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really
so,
good.
and you know, it's what I said earlier, which is like we're just the guide here.
Yeah.
Like we can just help and guide people through the process, but they're doing the work.
Right.
So, you know, they need to be ready to do the work, but there is an aspect of education. It blows my mind how much unconscious incompetence there is in this space.
Yeah.
Like people just don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And then you think about the inundation from like the TV commercials and, you know, even walking through the grocery store.
Right.
Like, what should I be eating? Should I do keto? Should I do this? Should I do that? And then the inundation of information, which we call like, you know, Dr. Google out there now. It's just even weeding through.
It's impossible.
Yeah, it's just overwhelming.
And you get that like analysis paralysis and the whole deal. It's really wild. Now your model is a lot different. When you say like a membership model, like that's got to be really new to a lot of people. Like I might join a gym for a membership. I'm not going to join a doctor's office. I mean, I will, but a regular person on the street's not going to do that. But what's beautiful about that is like it puts that awareness of your health at the forefront because you are paying that bill every month.
It's a commitment.
And you've got someone who's now, you're committed, but they're committed to you. Like that, your team is, your full team, not just you, the whole team is committed to that person and making the progress they need to make to get to where they want to go.
Right.
So all these things we talked about, it's more of like a layered approach, would you say, right? Like,
Absolutely.
So they kind of just one piece, like you're playing one card at a time, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the goal is not to overwhelm by any means. It's like, and it is a process, right? Because you don't get unwell overnight, so you're not going to get well overnight. So there are changes that need to be made. But I always say like small changes can have such a big impact.
No doubt.
So it's also not, you know, people are like, oh, I'm not going to do this because I'm going to have to not ever eat pizza or never drink beer or never, you know, like the things that but I mean, we're Italian, so we're all about like,
you can't
know,
escape that one.
food and fun. So, you know, that it's just about, you know, I'll say moderation. It's not really moderation. It's like knowing what works for your body, and what works for me may not work for you. So a lot of this is about getting to know yourself, like inside and out. And yeah, it's a process of uncovering and unraveling and undoing in some cases, and then rebuilding in a better way.
And I think it's definitely a case of like, pay now or pay later.
Absolutely.
Not just monetarily, say,
absolutely.
but like if you don't put the time into yourself now,
Yeah.
to make the investment in yourself now, like you're either going to pay to be well now, or you're going to pay for being sick later.
Absolutely.
So you want to make sure you put that time in, and that you know, if it's an investment up front now as well.
Yeah, and the interesting thing too to that point is like, you know, the insurance plans, which are now high deductible. So we say, you know, health assurance is priceless, health insurance is expensive.
Right.
You can come in, you can pay toward a deductible $3,000 or $5,000, or you can invest that in yourself, do the right things, and not even need that health insurance. So it's just, yeah.
So we're kind of getting to the end of our time here, and I want to make sure we touch on as much as we can fit in this little bit of time that we have. Is there anything, like, for folks out there watching, maybe they're on the fence about either coming to PIH, or maybe they're across the country and they want to look into this themselves. Is there anything up front you'd tell somebody, like, hey, like, here are some things to look out for maybe in your own health or in your own world to kind of get the ball rolling before walking into a clinic?
I mean, I think the number one thing is to like trust yourself.
Yeah.
Like no one knows you better than you know yourself.
That's a great point.
And it's always eye-opening, like I said, when people come in and they're like, my doctor says I'm in great health, but I feel horrible. Like, again, sometimes it's just the removing of the noise. So I talk about cutting the crap. I hope I can say that, but it's like chemicalized, refined, artificial, and processed foods. So sometimes it's just the fundamentals of like doing some of the right things to know how you truly feel, and just being in touch with how you feel. And as I did with my son when he was an infant, I trusted my gut in that process. You know, I think we've been led to believe that we don't have control of our health, when in fact we do. You know, in functional medicine, we say like your genes can load the gun, but your environment pulls the trigger. And I don't love that analogy, but it's true. It's like there's a world of nutrigenomics. How does food impact the expression of your genes? Epigenetics.
Wild field, like as
amazing.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
Really nuts.
But the bottom line is, no matter the hand of cards that you're dealt, you have control of that.
You do.
You can make choices.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that that's super empowering for most people.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think for folks watching, if you're not sure, go to someone who knows what they're doing. Right?
Yeah.
Go to Jenna and the team. Like, see them, get the tests done, get a sense of where you're at, just even a baseline, and then take that next step from there with folks who can properly guide you on that journey.
Yeah.
So Jenna, how can folks find you? How can they find Princeton Integrative Health? How can they learn more? Like, let them know.
So our website is www.princetonih.com. You can reach our office at 609-512-1468. We're also on social. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and pretty much any other place you want to find us. So
fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Absolute pleasure. I'm excited for our future episode that we're going to do as well, because I know there's a lot more to share. But I know the viewers get a ton out of what we did today. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As always, you can check out resultswithjoe.com as well for additional resources, and to find Jenna and the Princeton Integrative Health Clinic as well. Thanks for tuning in. We'll check you on the next episode.